Alright, hey guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name is Curtis, and you guys know fall is right around the corner, and one note that I like to wear during the fall is tobacco. So I've gone through my collection and I've picked some fragrances that have the note of tobacco, some a bit more tobacco forward than others, but they all have the note of tobacco. So if you're curious to see the fragrances that I've chosen, then let's go. Alright, first up from the house of Caron, we have Tabac Akis. So this one is so intoxicating and sexy. Basically, you have some slightly sweet tobacco, a bit of dark chocolate to push it into that slight gourmand territory. You have a bit of dusty cocoa, but all that is blended together so well, and it makes for such an intoxicating and alluring combination that works perfectly during the fall season. Now that tobacco does come off slight ashy, but it comes off like kind of burnt pipe tobacco, which I really love. And when I was a kid, my grandfather used to smoke a pipe, and I used to really love the smell of that. And so I guess, when I wear this fragrance, there's definitely a slight reminder of him. I really love this fragrance. It's a great one, and this is the only fragrance that I've checked out from the House of Caron. But yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by the house and I want to explore more. But with this fragrance, you get really strong longevity. So this easily lasts 10 plus hours on my skin. Projection is just moderate with this one. It's not a beast. It won't fill a room. I guess if you were to overspray this one, it could probably fill the room. But it does leave quite an intoxicating sillage that I really enjoy. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Tabac Akis by Caron. Next up from the house of Nichane, we have Fan Your Flames. So this one is such a unique experience for me. It's a bit smoky. You have some rum blended together with that coconut and tobacco, and it is kind of a wild yet very sophisticated experience for me. And this is a very situational fragrance. I tend to wear this one if I'm dressed up with nothing less than a collared shirt or to an event that might be kind of formal. It just works perfectly in those types of occasions for me personally. You can wear this whenever you want, but for me, that's my image of this fragrance. It is sophisticated class. I really enjoy this one, and I don't have another fragrance that smells quite like this in my collection. It smells just extremely unique. It was done extremely well. What I will say with this one though is, as you know, with most Nichanes, they perform extremely well. You only need a couple sprays with this because it is a room filler, but the sillage is absolutely gorgeous. I can't say enough good things about this fragrance. Out of all the Nichane fragrances, this is one of those that definitely receives quite a bit of hype, but what I will say, as it is quite polarizing, so I feel like it's more of a love or hate it type of relationship. I love it, but it's just very situational in terms of when I like to wear this one. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Fan Your Flames by Nichane. Next up from the house of Guerlain, we have L'Homme Ideal Extreme. Man, so this one is sexy, sweet, warm, spicy. You have some plums in here, which help to give it like a very subtle booziness tone. You have some tobacco in here, which gives it a bit of woodiness, but all around, this one just remains classy and sexy. I really enjoy this one. So what's unique about this one is that it contains the note of almond, and I don't have very many other fragrances, if any at all, that contain the note of almond, so it makes this one quite unique to my own collection. But yeah, the notes are just blended together so well, and I really enjoy this one. And one thing I love about Guerlain is they're a designer house. I guess it could be argued whether they are designer or niche, but in my mind, I consider them designer, but they put out niche quality fragrances. I really am a huge fan of theirs. Guerlain and Hermes is another designer house that they're really good at stepping outside of the box and creating fragrances that, aren't necessarily geared towards mass appeal. And that's something that I really love about the house of Guerlain and Hermes. Yeah, this is a great one and definitely one to check out from the house. So if you can, get yourself a sample of L'Homme Ideal Extreme by Guerlain. Alright, next up from the house of Maison Violet, we have Un Air d'Apogée. Man, And so I think this one has to be my favorite tobacco fragrance. This one is just so unique, and it just has to be one of the best smells ever when it comes to its sillage. It's magically gorgeous. And what's unique about this one, as this one is kind of like a honeyed tobacco fragrance, and of course there are many other honeyed tobacco fragrances out there, but this one actually doesn't contain the note of honey at all. There's no honey listed in the note breakdown of this fragrance, but it does contain the note of mimosa. And in fragrances, mimosa can kind of come off a bit powdery, but it can also give off a honey-like vibe. And so that's kind of what's happening here. So upon initial spray with this one, you get that delicious kind of honey note given off by that mimosa, along with a strong blast of tobacco. And then you get some hay note that's starting to push forward that gives this fragrance a subtle earthiness, but I absolutely love that about this. And then finally in the dry down, you get a subtle, very, very subtle leather tone that starts to push forward, but it remains in the background. It doesn't come to the forefront of this fragrance, but it just helps to give it a bit more character and depth, and that's something that I really, really enjoy. Sillage and projection is just moderate with this one, and longevity I would say also is just moderate, but the experience of wearing this one is magical. And again, kind of like I said before, it's probably my favorite tobacco fragrance in my collection. And this one was perfumed by one of my favorite perfumers, Nathalie Lorsan, and she actually has perfumed, I think, all of the fragrances from the House of Maison Violet. And if you haven't checked out the House of Maison Violet, you definitely should. They have some very, very high quality niche fragrances that are just blended extremely well, and there's definitely that uniqueness there that, you know, is intriguing, and that's something that I really like. And I think they're definitely an underrated house. You don't hear a lot of people talking about Maison Violet here in the fragrance community. They have a lot of high quality fragrances that are just made extremely well. I'm a huge fan of the house. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Un Air d'Apogée by Maison Violet. And finally, from the House of BDK, we have Tabac Rose. So this one is one of those fragrances that you can't pick up so much on the tobacco. You can tell it's definitely there, but it's not as tobacco forward as some of the other fragrances that I showed you today. But this one is a very, very beautiful rose. And that rose kind of develops and moves forward with this very sexy and intoxicating chocolate note that pushes forward. And it even comes a bit more prominent in the dry down. So with this one, you're pushing into that gourmand territory. But it is just so intoxicatingly sexy. I absolutely love wearing this one. It's a compliment getter. Performance is phenomenal. This one was performed by one of my favorite perfumers, Julien Rasquinet. I feel like he's a man that can do no wrong. I love all his creations, and this is a top-notch banger from him, and probably my favorite fragrance from the House of BDK. Yeah, I just enjoyed wearing this one in the evenings. It works perfectly for like a fall or winter date night. Yeah, just a great one from the house. So if you can, get yourself a sample of Tabac Rose by BDK. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content, and let me know down in the comments section, what are some of your favorite tobacco fragrances that you really enjoy wearing in the fall? I'd love to hear about them. Well, I hope you guys are staying healthy and well, and I'll see you in the next video.